G'day guys, welcome back to Bearded Mafia Pods. We're your hosts. I'm Rob.
I'm Matt.
And this is episode 11, Rub My Smoking Meat, You Flaming Mongrel. We're joined by the owner of Smoking Beard himself, Ryan Kropp. How are you, buddy?
Good, guys, good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, not a problem, mate. Thanks for
Love
coming.
having you.
Thanks for coming and rubbing your meat on us.
Rub our meat.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, no, it's a different type of podcast, I see. One of those
After hours special.
one of those pay-per-views.
How's the business going, mate?
It's been good. It's been good. As of late, I reckon the last week to a month, it's been pretty productive. For a while there, it sort of slacked off a little bit, and I think that was just due to my own actions. I sort of let it slip a little bit. But back into the swing of things now. We've got the 3 rubs. We've got a 4th rub coming in the next couple of weeks, which is exciting. And as of today, we've just launched our first T-shirt design as well. So I'd say the business side for the Smoking Beard is probably the strongest it's been.
Oh, that's good.
Excellent to hear.
Sorry, I was just trying to turn the TV down a little bit. Background noise is a little bit loud. I'll just get to the... before we start, I'll thank our sponsors, Jericho Australia and Dirty Tricks Garage. Couple of legends.
Absolutely, been with us from the start. Good boys.
Yes. I'll kick it off. What made you get into the barbecue rub business?
It's always a good question. The rub side of the business itself came about maybe a couple of years ago now, when I'd already been heavily into the art. Well, I suppose the art or the hobby of barbecuing itself for a couple of years, and I was always buying barbecue rubs. From Bunnings were selling them, Barbecues Galore were selling them, and I was just buying generic barbecue rubs. And after a couple of years of experimenting with different types of seasonings from other companies, mind you, on different types of meat, I thought, hey, surely I can come up with a base seasoning that suits my taste. And at the time, I was thinking money-wise, like cost-effective-wise.
Yeah.
At the time, it wasn't even a thought to actually even market a barbecue rub or even sell a barbecue rub. And it was actually one of my partners I had at the time that actually pushed me towards doing it. And he went out. We done it the old-fashioned way. Actually, we went out and bought a mortar and pestle, which is how we first started mixing our rubs together. And
out in the apothecary.
Yeah, in the backyard with our shoes off, and we were sitting on a rug. We had incense candles burning in the background, but that's. I think it was the fact that I had been involved within. I call it a hobby. I still like to refer to barbecue as a hobby because I don't want to look at it as a chore.
Yeah.
So at the time, I was a couple of years into this newfound hobby that I'd found, which started at the beginning of COVID, evidently. And I eventually getting more creative with things that I wanted to try and smoke or cook on a barbecue. It was only a matter of time before that having your own barbecue rub sort of overlaps with that creativity. So, I think just the fact that I was heavily invested into the art or the hobby, if you will, of actual barbecuing sparked something that I thought, I can make a seasoning. Surely I can make a seasoning. Because, to be honest, your seasonings, I'd like to think your seasoning's more than half of the finished product. Because without seasoning, you don't really have, you got a tasteless bit of meat. But, that's sort of what kicked it off, I think. Just that passionate about absolutely cooking barbecue whenever I could. It got to the stage where I was like, well, how can I enhance this hobby? How can I make what I'm cooking better? And that's when I started experimenting with different spice blends to try and perfect something. And it didn't go well in the start either. I think my first barbecue rub that I mixed up was 98% salt and 2% whatever else I put in it.
Oh shit!
Heart Attack Central. That's a good place.
It was bad. It was bad. Like even the color of it, I was like, I can't put that on a piece of meat. Like, yeah, we'll try it. And we actually tried it on. I think we tried it on a point end or a brisket flat.
Mm-hmm.
And the meat itself was really good because at this point I had been experimenting and cooking low and slow barbecue for a few years. And the meat itself was fine, but that outer layer, that crust, it was... when you like go for a swim in the ocean and the wave pours you on, you get a mouthful of salt water. That was pretty much what it was.
Yep.
It wasn't. It was less than fantastic.
I tried to do that with a brisket once. I tried to make my own seasoning, like just salt and pepper and that. But I think I over peppered it. I'm pretty sure I over peppered it because it was fucking hot. It was very peppery. It's like, this is great.
Yeah, one thing I've never tried, hey, is like a hot seasoned brisket. Obviously, like you can over pepper a seasoning or over pepper a piece of food, but like I've actually never tried hot rub, so to speak, on a brisket. Like when I always used to buy a brisket, it's always like, this is a big brisket. It wasn't exactly cheap. I'm just going to stick to what I know because I don't want to experiment with like an expensive cut of meat.
Oh yeah.
I should be just going out and buying like cheap steaks from Woolies and experimenting with seasonings that way.
Yeah.
But a spicy rub on a brisket, I don't know. I love spicy food.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't like the spicy food where you feel like you physically need to ring 000 or something like that. You know when it's like too hot, you don't even like. There's no taste. It's just complete numbness. I love the spiciness that you can taste, where it's not ridiculous. Like that was a thing. Like you read different forums and groups that you see people posting in asking for tips and stuff like that on how to cook a brisket. I reckon 99% of people will just come back to you and say, all you need is salt, pepper, and garlic for a brisket.
Yeah.
Which I've only done once, and like it was fine. It was fantastic, but there are still other options out there. And it just comes down to what everyone likes differently, I suppose.
Yep.
Well, brisket's one of those naturally flavoursome pieces of beef too.
Man.
It's got its own unique taste to it.
Yep. I reckon you could nearly put brisket, like a beef brisket, in the same category as like a leg of lamb. Like, it's beef, but it's sort of, it doesn't taste like normal beef.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't.
It's very, you're right. It's got a very distinct taste. Almost, it's gamey without being gamey.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, 100%. What would be your favourite rub that you've got so far out of the selection you have at the moment?
I'd still have to say the all-purpose would be my favourite. Well, to be honest, just of late, I've sort of reinvented the Dark Temptations barbecue rub, which is the coffee-based barbecue rub.
Yep.
And I've changed brands of coffee beans, and it's sort of, I don't know, it feels like it's a lot better than it was. And I don't know if it was the piece of meat that I cooked at the time using the coffee rub or the Dark Temptations, like the newly invented Dark Temptations, but it just came out super awesome. And I made the Dark Temptations predominantly as a beef rub. But with the new ingredients, well, they're not new ingredients, they're just sort of different brands of ingredients. They're the same ingredient base, but just different brands. So the coffee beans are a little bit more, I guess you could say the coffee beans are a little bit more high quality. I don't really know a lot about coffee beans. But the aroma I get from them compared to buying a packet of beans from Woolies is significantly better. But as I was saying, like predominantly it's a beef rub, but I've started using it on a lot of other things like pork as well.
Yep.
I've actually used the coffee rub on pork belly burn ends, which when I first created the coffee rub, I already had the all-purpose, which was going to cover basically pork, chicken, all your proteins.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it'd be good to have like a rub that was advertised as a beef dominant type rub.
Yeah.
And that was the idea behind the coffee rub, because I had tried many coffee based rubs in the past, which every coffee rub based rub that I've tried in the past has been sold and marketed as a beef rub. Like the Lane's Barbecue, they do an Ancho Espresso rub, which is made for beef, and it's supposed to enhance that bark. Like people use it on their brisket because it's a darker rub.
Yeah.
It barks over a lot easier. So that was the story behind the coffee rub. But then I found out like the actual flavors and the way that it complemented a lot of different meats. I was like, it's not something I just have to use on beef. I can use this on anything. But yeah, without being biased, I don't know. It's a close run between the coffee and the all-purpose at the moment. Yeah, if you would ask me what one I use more of, I still use the all-purpose rub a lot more than any other rub that I've got.
Well, it might be the amateur in me, but I've used the coffee rub on everything. Everything, because it's fucking delicious. And I'm like, what have I got? Pull something out the freezer. I'm like, what have I got here? Oh, Dark Temptations. That'll do. If I can. That's going to be delicious.
Yeah.
It goes. I think it goes on everything. I've tried it on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's. I think like because like my intentions behind the like creating the actual rub is probably why I haven't tried it on anything else.
Yeah.
But I have done pork belly burn ends with it, and it's so weird. Like a lot of the times you buy rubs, and I think I can speak for a lot of barbecue rubs out there, is they all have the same base ingredients.
Yeah.
A lot of them, and it just depends on what the manufacturer or whatever the business owner decides to add to the rubs, which is what makes them unique. But the thing with the coffee rub, when I've done the pork belly burn ends with my coffee rub, when I do pork belly burn ends, I don't normally add sauce to them. I do a dry rub and just smoke them. That's it. And when they first came out, when I tried them for the first time with the coffee rub, the first initial taste I got was like espresso, like coffee, and it just paired really well with pork. I was like, holy shit, this has actually paid off. And that's when I was like, where you use seasonings in cooking is literally up to the imagination. Like, you know, it's the same old age argument that you go and buy, if you go to Barbecues Galore or something like Bunnings and buy wood chunks for your barbecue.
Yeah.
You get the packet of wood chunks, and on the packet, it'll have like a picture of a cow, pig, and chicken. It means, okay, this is good for beef, pork, and chicken. Where, if you buy Applewood, I don't think Applewood has beef on the chicken. It's normally got fish, chicken, poultry, and lamb for Applewood. There's no actual picture of a cow on the chicken, which is that company's way of saying, this doesn't necessarily pair well with beef. But I don't know. I feel like who makes that rule? Like, everyone's taste is different. So
connoisseurs, that's who does it.
Yeah. And there's been times where I've used different types of wood, flavored wood for meat that you probably shouldn't use. Like cherry wood was predominantly used for chicken and pork because it has a sweet sort of smoke scent that goes through the. But it was all I could get at Bunnings at the time, and I was smoking briskets for 12 hours with it.
Yeah.
And truth be told, I honestly think wood's wood. I can't taste the difference between different flavored wood chunks, eh?
I think it's a little bit of wank.
Yeah.
I think it is a
someone
huge,
biting into a brisket on. Is that a bit of cherry wood I can taste in that?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you know
mate.
what's funny? I
Yeah.
used to post my this is going back now. I don't do it anymore. I just say, yeah, it's just smoked meat. I don't. Sometimes I'll be like smoked over wood or lump charcoal, which is yeah, fair enough. But I used to
Yeah.
post videos like, oh, we've done some pork belly burn-ins today, and I've smoked it over. And I used to make it a point like cherry wood, and then I'm like, I can't taste the fucking cherry in this though. Like I really can't. It just tastes like meat that has been smoked over wood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I feel like it's a wankerish sort of thing to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
to make yourself
I don't know
sound
about the
like, oh,
difference
he knows what he's
between
talking about.
I don't know about the difference between particular kinds of wood, but if you've ever had like wood that's not real good, I don't know, because I've got the pellet smoker. I've bought cheaper wood chips with wood pellets, and you just don't get the same intensity from them.
Yeah.
But that's
Oh,
the only
okay,
issue.
yeah.
That's the only difference I've ever seen.
When it comes to that, because I do have a pellet smoker actually.
Yep.
The pellet smoker was the second ever smoker I ever bought. The first ever smoker I bought was a gas powered upright jumbuck from Bunnings. It cost me like $170, something like that. And I cooked on that for a few years before I went out and bought a Z Grill pellet smoker. And I was feeding the Traeger pellets through it. Because I was getting them from Barbecues Galore. Barbecues Galore was the closest actual place to me that I could go and buy pellets from.
Yep.
But they were like, man, I don't know, $40 for like 9.9 kilos or something like that. And like doing a brisket, you could nearly do a bag if you were cooking a brisket for long enough. I'm like,
Yeah.
by the time you bought the brisket, by the time you bought the sides, and you at that time I was still buying seasoning, and then the pellets. I'm like, this is like a $300 cook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
love brisket, but it was starting to defeat the purpose of like why I started cooking at home or this whole low and slow thing. Like, I understand everyone's hobby is it can be money hungry, but I was like, $300 every time I want to cook a brisket is not. It's not what it's about. So then I started experimenting with cheaper wood pellets from Bunnings, which you know the Samba brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
So I was buying. I bought a bag of the Samba pellets. So they had 10-kilo bags for like $29, $19.99 actually at the time. And I used them once. And the whole smoker was just covered in ash. Like, there was ash all through the smoker. There was ash on the meat. There was ash all over the deck where my smoker is.
Yeah.
And that was, I was like, oh, what the fuck's going on here? I actually thought my smoker there was something wrong with it. Like, the pellets weren't feeding properly or there was something happening. And it's the fact that they were that shitty quality before this pellets actually got fed into the chamber where they light up. Because they were that high, dense, or flammable, they actually started lighting before they got into the chamber. And I've seen, and thankfully it didn't happen to me, but people have had issues with those particular pellets before. Which, by the way, they have redesigned and reinvented their brand of pellets, which they actually work fairly well now. But I've seen smokers with the pellets lighting before they drop into that fire tube, lighting all the way up through the hopper, and the whole smoker just catches on fire, which
Fucking hell.
That's some
so
scary shit.
there is something to be said in respects to that there's better quality out there for sure.
I haven't used the Samba ones recently, and they're not too bad these days. I got mine privately through like Marketplace. I found 20-kilo bags of fucking.
Yeah.
And they're okay. They're just not as intense. It takes a bit. Yeah, I don't know. The meat doesn't seem to take them on as much.
That's great. Like, it's one thing. Like I would have to say the one of the biggest arguments about pellet smokers was the smoke intensity was not near the same as say like a wood burner.
Yeah.
And I was. I don't know. I feel like, again, it depends on the type of pellet you use, because you can get some really good smoke flavor in a pellet smoker with a good quality pellet.
Yeah.
And then, I guess it's the same as like because you can get good quality hardwood and shit quality hardwood as well. Like when
Yeah.
I use the char grill at Acorn, which is a Kamado style grill, I just buy my local hardware actually sells 20 kilo bags of ironbark. Ironbark is 100% one of the best hardwoods I've ever used for smoking. It's
Yeah.
natural. It's low, like sort of like low smoke, especially if it's been dried out properly. So you're not getting because if you over smoke a piece of meat, it can be really bitter. Whereas like a lot of people say when you're actually smoking meat, you don't want to physically see too much white smoke coming out of the top of your smoker. You want to see that sort of thin blue sort of smoke consistently. Which and then sometimes, like I go back to the days of watching like barbecue pit boys, barbecue pit masters on Foxtel, and there was a interview that they did that really stood out to me. It was like some of the best smoked meats in the world that come from some of the best smokers. Is if you walk up to their smoker, you don't even know the thing's on because you can't see shit coming out of the stacks. I was like, oh wow, okay. I did not know that. Yeah.
Nice. Good tip.
But in saying that, I've never been able to achieve no smoke at all coming out of the smoker. It's always fairly consistently. It's not thick and white, like you don't have to turn your smoke alarms off. But yeah, it's always noticeable.
Yeah.
But like I have noticed, like you do get a little bit more smoke flavor from say a hard chunk of wood on a smoker than a pellet smoker. But at the same time, I swear by my pellet smoker because there's no maintenance.
Yeah.
Especially you doing a pork shoulder or a brisket, you chuck it on and bang, set it. I can go to bed and sleep
Yeah.
if I'm putting a brisket on at midnight. Wake up at 7 o'clock the next morning, and I know that the temperature hasn't changed at all. That brisket's going to be where it needs to be sitting. Whereas like using a wood grill, it's like, oh, man, you're nearly checking it every hour, and it becomes. It becomes more like a chore, which I still love cooking on my wood smoker. But I don't know. You shouldn't look at it as if it's a chore. I just want to be able to sit back and relax, and especially if you're doing a brisket, like a full size brisket, you're looking. I do truly believe you're looking at least a minimum of 10 hours. I would cook a brisket for 10 hours if you're doing a full size one. You can speed them up and down that time to like anywhere between 7 and 8, but that means you're cranking the temperature on whatever smoke you're using, and then you've got to really be paying attention to it as well. But you're doing a 10 to 12 hour cook with a 1 to 2 hour rest. It all of a sudden turns into a 14-hour process. I don't want to be up and down every 40 minutes to 60 minutes checking on that temperature.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah,
like
sure.
I'm happy to cook like chicken wings and pork belly burn ends within 3.5 to 4 hours on a wood smoker. But if I'm ever doing a brisket, I'm cooking that on my pellet grill, 100%.
That's the way to go, I think. So, do you have any plans of adding to your products? Like any new plans, any new products in the works?
I got so I hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I reckon I'd like to give myself 2 weeks, but I'm thinking maybe more 3. And that's the SPG rub.
Yep.
They'll wanna introduce. I've sent a couple of testers out to a few people. I yet to test it myself. I am going to try that tomorrow for the first time. I should be testing it myself actually. But from what I've heard, I think the SPG rub should be exactly what it's supposed to be. So that'll be the next rub in the line. As I said earlier, we got t-shirts out now, or just the one design t-shirt. But I'd like to add in one more t-shirt design. But as far as actual barbecue products are concerned, apart from rubs, I would like to get into the sauce side of things.
Yep.
Within the next I'm going to say the next year because I feel like I've got my hands full with 4 rubs at a time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't overcomplicate it too much.
No.
But a sauce line would be good. Even if it's just one. Like, I feel like maybe a barbecue sauce.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
barbecue sauce would be the way to go.
Yeah, just like it's, but with the own spin. Like, I've actually, I haven't really experimented, but like, I love barbecue sauce, and I've just taken a generic Woolies barbecue sauce here when I was making jerky, not too long ago, and I added the all-purpose rub into the barbecue sauce, and it was just I don't even know what the brand was. I'm fairly certain it was Heinz. Just add the barbecue rub into a bowl with a whole bottle of the Heinz barbecue sauce, mix it together, and it was actually really cool. Like, you could like get a spoonful and like see the orange speckles through the sauce.
Yeah.
And it actually added, like, if you done a taste test without this seasoning and with the seasoning on a spoon, you actually taste the difference in the sauce that had the seasoning in it. So I feel like, I don't know, the process is, when you Google the process of how to make barbecue sauce, it's like, oof, it's intimidating. It seems time consuming, but I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like the sauce could complete the collection there. You got your barbecue rubs, you got a sauce, and
Yeah.
you know, apart from that, it'd be good to start making my own smokers.
Yeah. Good.
Absolutely.
Well, I can guarantee that the SPG is pretty amazing.
I gotta try.
When you
it.
sent me out was it was pretty good. Like I said, I had it on a couple of bits of steak, and I put it on top of on some crackle, and it was unbelievable. It was very good. Just a bit of a spin and just putting salt on top of the crackle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, true. I've never thought to like, because again, SPG, as far as I've always been concerned, is, again, that was a seasoning mix that was predominantly meant for beef.
Yep.
But and when I first started researching on, I never really researched what type of rubs I should be using for different types of meat. I always just researched, like, how do I smoke this piece of meat? Like, what internal temperatures am I looking for? And I used to just throw any type of rub on the meat, and it never turned out bad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after I found out that people actually had different types of barbecue rubs for different types of meat. It's like, it's nearly as if like SPG or coffee-based rubs, it was like a sin to put that on anything but beef. But it's like, I don't know, if it's a good mixture, if it's a good rub, I don't see why it doesn't pair with your favorite protein, regardless of whether it's beef.
I agree. You could be like me and just out of necessity of being a lazy cunt, like, you go to cook something and it's like, you go through the drawer, it's like, fuck, this is all I got left. Like, that'll do.
Yeah.
I'm down to one rub. It's fucking all clumpy. You're in there fucking poking holes in the fucking thing. Like, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah.
I think that's where it comes back to. If it's actually a decent seasoning, then I feel like it could go with anything.
Oh, yeah.
With that, you got any tips to not clump fucking rubs?
No,
No.
I've tried. One of the main issues that I have is the barbecue rubs clumping, and unfortunately, when I was at Meat Stock earlier this year in March, I actually made it my business. I walked around to a few different stalls at Meat Stock, and because there was a lot of companies there that were selling barbecue rubs, obviously, and sauces and shit. And I was chatting to a few blokes, and one of the questions I asked a few different people was, how do you avoid the clumping in your barbecue rubs?
Yeah.
And the one thing I learned is, so first of all, what causes the clumping besides heat and humidity is brown sugar within the barbecue rubs.
Oh, well,
so
that makes sense if you ever keep brown sugar in your cupboard.
Yeah.
You can pull the fuck out, it's a rock.
Yeah.
It turns to cement. Like, and
that makes
one
sense.
like if you got barbecue rubs that are clumping, like a lot of people, I remember when I first started, getting into barbecuing. You know, I would join Facebook groups and people would be like posting in there going, is this rub any good? Like it's basically a brick. It's like, well, and everyone used to say it's like, well, that's just the brown sugar clumping because, you know, it's heat and humidity that causes brown sugar to clump together. And it's like, it's not a sign of the rub going off. You just have to, you know, chuck it through, you know, a coffee grinder or break it up, you know, bag or whatnot. But it is very inconvenient. And that was an issue I was having at Meat Stock. Like the rubs were clumping over a 24-hour period. And it's because Queensland is such a hot, humid fucking state up here. And it's literally just unfortunate. So what I have started and what I will start to do is I was doing some testing. I just used got one here. Here's one I prepared earlier. I've been chucking these little oxygen absorbers in the bags. So, you know, the ones you get in jerky.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that keeps it as dry as possible. So the moisture comes from the brown sugar. There's the moisture, and then because it's in an enclosed bag, there's the heat. So the only option, the only advice I can give you is like store it in a cold, a coolish, dark place. People keep it in the fridge.
Yeah,
I've never tried it, so I don't know if that works or not. But short of that, that's why I started selling it in the stand-up pouches rather than the shakers. Because in the pouches, you know, you've got that insulated sort of pouch. It's dark. No light can get into it, whereas the shakers, you know, we're just see through.
Well, the shakers are cool, but like every time I just had to take the lid off anyway and fucking start poking. It's every rub. It's every rub that's ever been made. Like, and just smashing a knife into the fucking thing.
That's why it's good with the pouches because you can just squish them with your fingers together just to squash, like get it all squished back up again.
And that's exactly why I did it.
That's a great idea. And I might actually try keeping them in the fridge. I got the fridge right next to the barbecue, so
I feel like the only other thing that I when I was doing research on it was it actually wasn't research. It was someone at Meat Stock that told me that obviously the brown sugar was the your main culprit there to why it clumps, and he said that before they make because they were just a small batch company, which I'm just a small batch company. I literally most times I'll make to order, so I'll let a whole 7-day cycle go, and then make rubs up on the Monday morning based on the 7-day order process, which I'm sort of changing now, which I'm trying to make a whole heap of different variations up. So I've got stock just for when people do order. I'm like, okay, let's throw that in a box, send it off, so there's not a wait period.
Yeah.
But he said they used to get their brown sugar into a massive container, like a oven-safe container, and chuck it in the oven and dry the brown sugar before they added it to the mixture to take all the moisture out of the brown sugar. And I was like, that sounds like a time-consuming process. And
sounds like a lot of work.
I was like, I'm not there for that. I was like, I don't. No, I'm not going to do that. But I think whereas you'll still get some form of clumping, but the pouches are a lot better than the bottles. I mean, I've got bottles that I've bought from like actual barbecue rub companies. I've bought some from Meat Stock, not last year, but the year before. But I've bought some from Barbecues Galore. Bunnings now sell them. I've even bought them from certain butchers. As soon as I get them home and I put them on the shelf, a week later they're clumping.
Yeah.
It's like it's such a climate has a lot to do with it as well. Plus, you know, obviously the brown sugar. Well, the brown sugar content was what I learned was the issue there.
Fair enough. Well, your rubs. So what's your process for people that don't know? Start to finish, how do you make a rub? What's involved? I'm sure it's not as easy just whacking it in a bowl and then mix it away.
Well, I don't know.
The electric mixer.
first started thinking, okay, I like the taste of this rub. I could probably sell this. I went out. I sourced a company at the time. There was a spice company online called Nuts About Life, which sold every spice under the sun. From everything from your paprika, like all your different paprika variations. There was cinnamon, like any spice you could think of. These guys had it. So I made a bulk order of. I think there's 8 ingredients or 9 ingredients in the all-purpose rub, and I bought all 9 ingredients from this company in 5-kilo bags.
Yeah.
Got it home, and then I went out to Kmart and bought some 3-liter. I don't know, they're just 3-liter storage contain like plastic storage containers with like Ziploc lids and shit. Labeled them like onion powder, paprika, salt. I chucked them all in there. So when I do make them up, pardon me, when I make the rubs up, I'll have my I got a thermo. Well, it's a thermo mix. Believe it or not, I still use the same fucking thermo mix I got from Aldi like 3 years ago. This thing, like I bought a thermo mix at the time, thinking I've always wanted a thermo mix, and I never used it until I decided I was going to start making rubs. So basically, I've got it written down. It's in my memory now. I don't even need to look at the recipe, but like I had my recipe written down. It'd be X amount of tablespoons of paprika, salt, pepper, cayenne pepper, mustard powder, onion powder. All the ingredients. They would go in to the thermo mix in their equal ratios. And then the thermo mix would go on for about anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes on a speed of 4, which is like it's not spinning hard, but it's got that mixing consistency where it's just blending it all together, sort of like pulsing a little bit.
Yep.
And then after about 5 to 10 minutes, take the I guess the mixer off the docking station there, tip it into a big bucket, and then repeat the process. And when that bucket's full, all I do is I take a funnel and I put it in the top of the black pouch, like the pouches that you see today, and just get a little pouring thing and scoop it out. And so I make up bulk rubs and have it in one massive container. So I'll spend most of Sunday just making up a heap of one rub, and then Monday. So Sunday will be like my making time, so to speak, and then Monday will be my bagging time, where I'll just all right, bag it all in, bang into a box, and then just repeat the process for the different variations of the rub. So if someone's got orders for The Godfather or Dark Temptations, it's like, oh, I'll just put a day aside, make up a heap of Dark Temptations. It's easy to gauge how much rub you need to make up based on the order, because once you start doing it for a while, it's like, oh, I've got 4. Say you got 10 people that want 2 bags each of Dark Temptations, you sort of know how much you've got to make up before you've made too much.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that muscle memory thing. But yeah, that's pretty, like, it's really nothing special, but it'd be good to, like, I feel like it's exactly the same how most beard companies started out making oils, just in their home with utensils and shit, and like,
for sure.
Yeah, thinking like that, it kind of makes me like wonder. It'd be good to have a warehouse one day where you have like just machines where you click the button and it all mixed it for you. But that's a way away. Yeah. We're down the track.
Goals.
Yeah.
That rolls into my next question, actually.
I love it.
I know you don't like to look ahead and all that sort of stuff. You're not that kind of person. But what I want to know is, like, where do you see the Mafia, the fucking smoking beard? Where do you see the smoking beard barbecue rub in about 2 years' time, you reckon?
2 years' time. Like, where do I see it, or where do
you see it? Where do you want to see it?
I'd like to see. To be honest, I'd like to see it more widespread.
Yeah.
2 years' time, it'd be good to. I'm not a very picky person. In 2 years' time, it'd be good to have a couple of, like, I could even count them on one hand. That's how many I'd probably want. But like a couple of stock lists.
Yep.
And that butchers, I'd target butchers before I'd target anywhere else. Like,
Yep.
I wouldn't try and target people like Barbecues Galore or bloody, Bunny. Like, it's like they're gonna ask you to pay them to stock their shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to have in a couple of years' time. I'd like to have a couple of stock lists where like you can buy said barbecue rub, not just from my website.
Yep.
I think that'd be pretty
good.
cool.
Yeah.
I don't have any aspiration to have some giant fancy warehouse like within that time, because at the current time I'm managing fairly, like, I've got my own area within my own home that I make the barbecue rubs. Like, I've got a L-shaped sort of, it's like a kitchen within my dining room, L-shaped sort of stainless steel kitchen area where I just got the mixer and then all the. It's like you go down the line. It's like paprika, salt, pepper, bang, bang, done. Mix it, and then you got your other table for all your bagging. So, as far as like space to work is concerned, I'm fairly comfortable with where I'm at the moment. But I'd like to have the product a little bit more widespread or exposed, so to speak.
Yep.
Just like it'd be unreal to be able to say, hey guys, if you're in the area, swing by such and such's and pick yourself up a bag of all-purpose, because they're a stocker. Which I've had opportunities to do that in the past, and that's my own fault that I've been a little bit slack on that part. But within the last probably month, I've sort of realised what I want to do in life and what's important to me, and I reckon I'm going to focus 98% of my time on the smoke and beard, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you've been doing well with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just us. There was a period there where I slacked off and there was other things at play there. I think other distractions that shouldn't have come into it. And like I look at the Twitch world.
Yep.
Twitch has been so good for so many people, but for me, I feel like it sort of it distracted me from what I actually love doing.
Yep.
And it took a while to realize, but I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I sort of want to get back to that point in life, with the business, should I say?
Yeah.
Before Twitch became a thing, because that was when I was most proactive or productive, should I say?
Yeah.
And just within I reckon the last 2 weeks, if I had to pinpoint it, has been my most proactive and productive timeline of 2023 as far as the smoke and beer is concerned.
Yeah.
And it only took a couple of weeks of actually giving the business attention to pick traction back up again. So it's like now that the traction sort of picked up again, I don't want to drop that ball.
Yeah, well, that's right. You've got a good product there, so it'd be such a shame to just let that all go.
Yeah. Some would argue, like, you'd be silly if you didn't try and promote it or make it, or at least give it your best shot to see if you can succeed it or not. Like, but yeah, no, it's. I reckon the smoke and beard. It was never supposed to be a job, and it still isn't a job. It's more of a. It's not even a side hustle. I just generally love doing it because.
Yeah.
The cooking videos that I do it's basically advertisement as well, because I do use the seasonings every video, but I love cooking. Like, I love barbecuing, so it's hard to. I don't look at it as if it's another job that I've got to do. It's like, I get orders every day, and I'm doing invoices every day, and I'm shipping orders every second and third day, and then between that, it's like. What person has ever woken up and gone, oh no, I've got to make a cooking video. Damn, I've got to cook a brisket today. Yeah. Like I realized after neglecting it I neglected it for months, not even a month. There was a couple of months there where it all sort of fell by the wayside, and now that I'm back, it's like I've realised what I was not so much missing out on, but like I realised this is where I'm happy, and this is, I guess you could say, this is my sort of niche. Like this is
Yeah.
what I'm good at.
Yeah. Do you
Whereas
think
other,
that you got a little daunted by the big order from Jericho? You think that might
Yeah.
have gave you a bit of a
Yeah.
kick? Like, yeah,
Yeah, that was heavy. That was a very heavy couple of. I worked on that order for a month,
yep,
I reckon, and it wasn't until 24 hours before I left here to head up to Toowoomba for meat stock. I finished my last bottle,
yep,
and it was, yeah, it was fucking. I probably. It was a huge order. I forget. I couldn't even tell you how many bottles it was. Something like 300-400 bottles or something like that.
Yeah, I
Which,
think it was
if I
like
knuckled
isn't
it,
it like 350 or maybe
350 rings a bell.
Yeah.
350 rings a bell, and like, if I was to knuckle down and start at 8 a.m. in the morning and finish at 5 p.m., like it's not like every batch that I do, and I was limited with the actual equipment that I had.
Mm.
Each batch that I do fills it. Well, it was filling 1.5 bottles
Yep.
before I had to refill the Thermomix all over again.
Now.
So you imagine 350 times,
Jesus.
and it was so. And I was,
Wow.
it was a slog. Like it paid off in the sense of like, financially I made profit, but like nothing to write home about. But it
Yep.
was more exposure
Yeah.
than actual finances. But 100% that by the end of it, I was so happy to be done. And when I got to meat stock, I actually took 2 weeks off doing barbecue rubs.
Yep.
And then I fell into a slump after that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, because I had the 2 weeks off. I'm like, I'm enjoying, yeah, that was a big thing. And I think if I ever had to take anything on like that again, I would definitely be paying someone to be by my side to take up some of the load.
I think that's one of the challenges of being a sole trader and a small startup is, well, one is personal motivation. Like you're there every day trying to motivate yourself. And
yeah, it is hard. It's so funny. Like I've got that mindset where it's like when I come up with an idea, my first thought is like, okay, how can I make money out of this, or how can I make this idea succeed? And like my mind overshoots like all the important things. It's like, okay, I've got this idea. All right, first of all, I got to go make a logo and get myself an ABN. Where it's like, hang on, let's calm down. How you gonna make the product, and how you gonna do that? And that was that was what happened with the beef jerky. I made one batch of beef jerky that I was happy with, and I was like, yep, I'm starting a business, guys. And then all of a sudden, it's like I didn't take into consideration the cost of meat, packaging, or labeling, which evidently is what kind of screwed me in the end with the beef jerky, which is why I don't do that anymore, because it wasn't cost effective. I went in too quickly without it and just didn't think about the logistics of it all. But thankfully, barbecue rub is a little bit more easy to manufacture and handle cost wise.
Just doing stuff with meat too, like meat prices are volatile at the best of times these days. So imagine
meat's terrible, hey.
I don't know how people maintain a profit with it, especially like these jerky companies. I mean, they don't change their prices that often compared to what. Like I worked in the meat industry, I know how often it changes. I don't know how quickly it changes. I don't know how they roll with the punches and absorb profit here and then get more there and then just roll with the punches like that. Fucking. Oh,
that was like, unless you're farming your own, you got 300 head of cattle that you can drop a full beast once a month. It's like, I was struggling I was like, because I was selling my bags, I don't know, I was like $15 a bag, which I based that off other jerky companies. I searched a couple of other big companies, what they were selling for.
Yeah.
So $15 a bag, and I was like, okay. Well, they're anywhere between 15 and $20. And I was like, I'll do a flat 15, and then I'll put. I think I had $8.70 postage on that because that's what it actually costs to buy the prepaid satchels from the post office.
Yep.
And eventually I started, like, I don't do my books. I've actually got someone to do my books for me because I hate bookkeeping, and two, I actually can't do it. I don't know. I'll send a couple invoices every now and then, but that's about it. I don't know how to do bookkeeping, and it wasn't. Thankfully, my mum does it for me. She's like, you realize you're only making like fucking $1 something on each bag here. I'm like, oh, really?
Oh, that's
I wasn't losing money, but I was like, fucking, okay, so if I slave it away for a year, maybe I'll just get a 6-pack of Northerns here.
You are working for 67 cents an hour.
Yeah, essentially,
Oh,
I was
fuck.
just like free labor for people to still pay full price for jerky. I was a piece of shit. So like, there's obviously, like, people have obviously set themselves up proactively to actively sell that. I'm guessing they make profit because they still do it.
Yeah.
But I just didn't see a point at the time, and whether they got a deal with a meat supplier or something like that, it was just. Yeah, no, it was a lot of because it was a lot of effort to make the jerky. You were looking at a 2-day minimum marinade period,
Hmm.
and then you had people
Imagine that
order on
one
top
would
of
be a
that.
real hard one to be a small operator in, because I mean, all that meat stuff, all those places their prices are dependent on buying power.
Yeah.
If you're buying lots, you get it for the price.
Yeah,
And then
but
also your production, if
Mhm.
you've got the fucking equipment, your production's a lot easier and a lot quicker and a lot cheaper.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it bewilders me how a lot of them are operating, because
Yeah.
there are some huge companies out. Like, you take Jack Links, for example. They're obviously, I just found it hard to keep stock on the shelf fresh.
Yeah.
Because after 2 weeks, it was going bad. Because the way I like jerky, we were talking about this the other night, is I like I don't like a dry. I like a little bit of a wet jerky, a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you start doing that, it's prone to go off quicker as well.
Yeah.
Because there's more of it. So then I had to do it as a make to order basis, and it's like, okay, 1 week I've got 4 people that want 2 bags each. It's like, okay, so that's a couple of, and I was using topside at the time. Like, that's 2 topsides roast. I reckon I can get fucking 6 bags out of a topside roast, 2 topside roasts, and then all of a sudden, halfway through the process, you'd get 4 or 5 other people place an order. It was never consistent, so you never knew how much meat you had to buy or how much you had to cut up and marinate at one point. Like, there was no consistency within my shipping times and my making times. Whereas, like, the barbecue rubs, all the seasonings are there. Someone places an order tonight, I can literally just go up and mix up a couple of bags and be like, I'll ship it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier process, and has turned out to be more profitable, because you can buy $15 bags of jerky, but I haven't seen too many places that sell $15 bottles of rub or bags of rub. Like, and that's another thing. Like, the prices, like, I've had a few complaints that $28 for a thing of rub. It's like, well, you pay anywhere between $20 to $25 for a normal sized bottle of rub from Barbecues Galore or Bunnings, right?
Yeah.
Keep in mind that you're buying online. I don't charge postage. The postage is included in that price.
Yeah.
Which is $8.79 per satchel per box. So essentially, I'm actually selling my rubs for exactly the same as anyone else. It's just, But then, that's something you've always got to accept. Like, if you've got a product out there that is available to the public on a wide basis, you get 100 people that buy your product, you're bound to get one person that's upset with something.
Oh, of course.
Absolutely.
Guaranteed.
Yeah,
Anytime.
something that
Anything you do.
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. As a business owner, I think you've got to realize the fact that you're just not going to please everyone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like, your product's not going to cater to everyone.
Yeah. And like that's I've said to people before, like having thick skin is something you really got to do. Like
hmm
the barbecue videos that I do, I've had people comment on my videos, especially on TikTok, that people have just been flat out savage, being like, "Man, that looks like shit." It's like, oh, okay,
Wow.
that's fair.
TikTok sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally 100%, and like it doesn't bother me anymore because I know. For every person that says it looks like shit, there's always someone that's commenting saying, "Man, that looks really good," and
Yeah,
that's all that you got to focus on.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
like, it's one of those things. Like,
It's a social media
ever-
thing. Like, with
Oh,
that sort
yeah,
of that side of
100%.
it, you gotta fucking if you're gonna put things up on social media, you gotta expect bullshit,
Oh,
yeah,
wankers.
yeah, you can't
Absolutely.
sit there and complain about it. Like,
Nah, you just look at the fucking stupid comment and just move on.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so hard. Like everyone, any small business owner would dream. They're like, "Oh, I'd love to have 100,000 customers."
Yeah.
100,000 customers comes a lot of heat, though. Like
Mhm.
you're gonna have a lot of backlash and a lot of people. Like if you've got $100,000 people that love your product, that means there's a lot of other people that have tried your product and hate it, and they're gonna let you know because people love to voice their opinions for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, yeah, it's the small
Well,
business world is not as fucking. I mean, it's glamorous in a sense. Like you have a lot of fun. You can watch your own product grow from scratch, but
Yeah.
it's not as simple as just having an idea and having it blossom overnight either.
yeah.
Yeah, not at all.
Well, the majority of people that we've spoke to and that have tried the product absolutely love what you've got right now. Especially the
Oh,
all-purpose.
God.
The all-purpose is like hands down one of the best things I've ever tasted in my life.
Actually, I'm glad I've made it.
Yeah.
Because I'm fairly humble. Like I don't like to blow smoke, but I do like that rub.
Yeah.
I can see why. I see why the young fella goes for a dip every now and then in the pantry.
Just find him in the pantry. I can sticking his finger in there. I said the other night, I
Yeah.
went in there and did the chocolate fucking powder. He come out a couple of weeks and a mouthful of rub. Look at your mouth.
Yeah, it was just parenting
Just
done
spurting it
right.
everywhere.
Goes into the pantry, moves the lollies out the way to grab the fucking barbecue rub.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's how you've got a winner there.
So like I said, like every other kid comes home from school wanting fucking snacks and that. He comes home and like, where's the rub?
Well, I can imagine. I'll send you down a couple of bags, and it'll be out there. Fuck, you'll see Xavier divvying it up into little fucking tiny Ziploc crunch bags, hand them out to school.
Oh, let's
Where's
go.
my rub gone?
So I'm like, give me a 50 for a fucking hit.
You should have seen his face light up
Oh,
when
yeah.
when I opened up the package that you sent down. As soon as I opened it up and he's seen the bags and he's seen your face on there, he's like, rubs. He's like, open one up.
I love that aroma too when you first open a good
Oh, yeah.
packet. No,
Well, we
no,
might
that's
wind
good.
this
That's
up.
good.
It's been a really good fucking episode.
Yeah, no, been a pleasure being here, guys.
Before we
very
wrap it
enjoyable.
up, I'd love to know where you got your sign behind you.
Oh,
The Great Northern
Great
sign.
Northern one. I actually
Nicked it
years
from a
ago when I
Yep.
first started drinking Great Northern, like I was buying Great Northern for $39 for a 24 pack of stubbies,
Jesus.
and that was before it became Great Northern Original or Super Crisp. It just used to be known as Great Northern, and that was actually the logo as well.
Yep.
And I was in love with Great Northern that much that I found a printing company on eBay. I was like, "Can you make me a fucking?
wow.
Can you make me a sign?" Yeah, so it's actually a custom-made one. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's brilliant.
He's cool.
Yeah. I just need to figure out how to reverse my camera when I'm streaming. 'Cause it looks fucking silly at the moment. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
no.
How I'm looking at it right now is perfect. It's like the right way.
It comes out the right way to us.
Yeah.
So you're all right.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Real good.
Yeah.
Real good.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, that was a custom job because I was that enthusiastic about Great Northern. Still am.
Oh
Still
yeah.
am.
Bloody oath.
I've
Great
just
try.
downgraded from the full strength to the mid strength nowadays.
Great Northern, if you want to get on to be a sponsor of the Bearded Mafia pods, we'd love to have
please.
you on. We would
Oh,
love
guys,
to have you on.
we would.
100%. We love you, drop.
100%. Yes.
Mine's empty, but it's right here.
We all drink it.
I love it.
All right, mate. Thanks for coming on the show.
Nah,
Love
pleasure.
having you on. It's been an
Absolutely.
absolute blast.
Yeah, 100%.
Keep rubbing.
100%.
Keep on rubbing.
Oh,
Keep
shoot. I
rubbing that
need to
meat.
think a tagline to be good.
Yeah.
I got
There
follow
you
the
go.
smoke, but I feel like I need something else. Keep rubbing. Actually, could be good.
Keep on rubbing.
I like that. Oh, by the way, I'm doing a coffee/Milo based experiment tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh yes. Look forward to
Brilliant.
that.
I'm gonna try it on a couple of steaks. We'll
I
see.
love it.
Um,
So good.
When once this is uploaded on YouTube, I'll add a link in the description for Croppy's page where you can go and buy the rubs.
Hopefully, it doesn't take you to some other site.
Absolutely. Go and follow his socials.
Yes.
Smoking Beard on Instagram. And don't go looking at that page when you're hungry because it'll just completely fuck you over.
Oh, yeah. It's never good.
Oh, dangerous. Dangerous.
It's so
stuff, 'cause
funny.
it's full of
Everyone's
delicious-
like, I always get that. It's like, oh, you make some really good food. It's like, yeah, no, I enjoy cooking, and then I think about it, I'm like, but I still have the nerve to sit here and go, why do I have the runs today? Look at the food you eat, you clown. Nah, it's good. It's good. Good night, boys. Been a good night.
Awesome.
Take it easy, mate. And
No, it's all easy, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
we'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
Peace out, everyone.
Catch you later.
Laters.
See you later.